Cox. We're in Morehead City. Back in when I was in high school in the early 80s, my family had a boat, and the deal was I could use the boat. I had to put the gas back in it. So I'd get my high school buddies, and we'd come out and go fishing for the day. And we would pay for the gas by selling the fish. And I enjoy the ocean. I love the freedom. I enjoyed just the history of fishing, and able to be my own boss, and to have the freedom to kind of do what I wanted and work the days that I wanted to work. You know, I got my start in the early 80s in the industry, and I was a fisherman, and then I worked at the fish house in my days of college. I would buy and sell seafood, and then I got a couple federal permits, and I had about 2 crews that would fish my boats and help them sell their seafood, and I was selling to the local restaurants, and I built a seafood business, Crystal Coast Fisheries, and we exported seafood all over the country and some stuff to Japan. And it was just so interesting how many people in the world really enjoyed and appreciated fresh seafood. And so my love for it just kept going and going. And now that I've been doing it for 40-some years, I enjoy giving back to the younger crowd and teaching them what the older guys taught me. People come to the coast to enjoy the water, and they come to the coast to enjoy fresh seafood, and it has it supports a lot of businesses and livelihoods, and it's super important that we maintain our seafood industry. It's when people come to the coast, they expect to get a good fresh seafood meal, and that's what we've been doing here for a long time. You know, I remember as a kid in the late 70s being on the waterfront here, and I remember all the old wood boats and the charter boats, and then, you know, we went through the 80s, and the waterfront maintained the way it had looked through the 50s and 60s, and there was something about the waterfront here. When you would get close to the waterfront, you could smell seafood, you could smell the salt, you could smell the ocean. We've kind of lost that. We've gotten more of a brick and mortar type of waterfront here. We've lost our historical, what we had, you know, our wood walkways and things, and now it's all brick. And so there's a lot of that I remember in time. I look back and I was like, wow, we really should have kept a lot of historical aspects of our waterfront that we had back in the day. Well, thank God for Magnuson, because we have laws that are set in place to protect our fisheries, and we've done a really good job of doing the best we can, I think, of protecting what we have here. I see that the laws and the fisheries are changing all the time, and there's a lot of people that are challenging these things. But as long as we keep Magnuson in place and let it do its job, I think we'll be in good shape. Spend now in semi-retirement about half my life over in Central America, and it makes me so thankful that we have NOAA, and that we have Magnuson, and that we have a system in place to protect our fisheries and to gather good data. We do an outstanding job at it, and I think everybody's doing really the best they can do. I always think everybody can do better if they can, but we have to be so thankful for the United States management system and the way that we do protect our fisheries. And people, unless they are able to really get out and go to other countries and see how the oceans are being exploited and what's going on, we deserve a pat on the back. The federal agencies, the people that are working hard, the scientists, we're really doing a good job. You know, there's a lot of good things that have come with the technology. Our weather's gotten a lot better, so we're able to pick our days when we go fishing much better than we used to. As far as the technology of fishing equipment, the depth sounders and the chirp transducers and these things that allow us to see fish much better than we used to. We are able to, in a lot of places, maybe target a species of fish that we want to catch. And maybe we'll see a species of fish that we probably shouldn't be catching because that season should be closed. So that's a good aspect of some technology once you learn to really how to read the equipment. You know, a lot of times when the guys get on a good catch of fish, and I've been guilty of it, it's hard to stop when you get a good catch of fish. And law enforcement has a big take in how they help us protect and manage fisheries. And they're not able to do a very good job if they don't know where the boats are fishing or when they're coming in. And it's not something everybody wants, but it's something that the resource needs, and it's something at the end of the day will help the fishermen. And so I would love to see the commercial boats with VMS placed on them. And what it does is it would just say, okay, well, we're all going to play by the same set of rules. If I exceed a trip limit, I'm actually stealing from another fisherman that may have an opportunity to offload and have a catch where the season would close early. So I think the VMS is definitely something that the industry needs as far as commercial fishing goes. As far as the recreational fishery goes, you know, we have been reporting our catches for a long, long time of what we come in with. And so we only have so many fish in the ocean, and everybody that takes fish out of the ocean, the only way we're going to be able to help the managers do a good job at what they're doing is we have to report what we're bringing in. And if we want to see our fisheries last and go on for generations. And so by technology, the recreational crowd is really going to have to do what the rest of us do and report catching. The easiest way for them to do that will be either by linking up to something on the computer or using their phone apps. And we have things, the South Atlantic has those apps and things in place now. But everybody's going to have to do their part if we want to continue doing what we're doing. Back in the 80s, we were catching red snappers here really good. I mean, it was just it was a great fishery. We were catching just a lot of red snapper. And then somewhere along the lines of the mid-90s through the early 2000s, that fishery got exploited. That fishery got over-harvested, and so we didn't have very much of red snapper fishery. And that fishery was closed for 5 years. There was no access to it up down the whole East Coast. Not so great for some of the guys in Florida because they catch a lot of them. We weren't catching so many here. But the council and the fisheries management system has done a really incredible job on rebuilding that fishery. I have seen that fishery come back to levels that we've never seen before. So that is a success story because we feel like we really rebuilt the fishery. But you know, those fish, it took a long time to recover, so we want to be really careful that we don't go back to where we were in that fishery. But that's my favorite story, is our red snapper success story, and I think that we can do it with other species. Like I would love to see that happen with our gag groupers and with our scamps and snowies and other things that took a long time to grow. As I start to end my career, one of the things I want to do is to be able to help fishermen and teach them what I've learned, and teach them how to take care of the resource, and teach them how to do things better than maybe the way that we did them. You know, we did things that we probably shouldn't have done that could have helped the resource and things. And what I mean by that is, you know, just overfishing, and maybe when you see a species in decline, to work with a scientist and say, hey, we don't want to deplete this resource. And so what I'm trying to do is to help fishermen to learn and help manage and to see young fishermen get into this. And when I say young, I want to see some of the 18, 20-year-olds learning what we have made a living at. So what I have done over time is I've gotten involved in fisheries management. I have been able to bring some of my experience to the table at the AP level. And help the council, the South Atlantic Council, understand what things that we need to do a better job, and to also interact with the young people that are on the AP and to say, hey, you know, this is a great place for you to start to learn to help the managers and the scientists. One of the things that I enjoy doing is to continue to work with the managers, and the science is so important. And the only way that we're really going to have good science in fisheries is to have the fishermen work alongside the science. That fishery data is so important, rather than to have the independent science data. We have to do it in conjunction with each other. Fishermen take the scientists, when the fishermen like myself, we put scientists on board the boat to take them fishing and show them what we're catching, and work with them on different grants and things, and they can take that to the to the CDAR and to when they're having conversation about stock assessments and things, it makes such a difference to have that data. You know, there's been a lot of programs through the years where the fishermen have been able to work with the science and take them, and the fishermen are only going to believe what they can. You know, the science has their job and the fishermen have their job, but if they can work and bring it to the council table together, they really have something concrete. What I've understood about working with federal management is that the fishermen really need to get involved in scoping. Okay, this is when the council comes out to communities and they say, we want to hear from you guys. This is something that the council's looking at. This is an amendment or a law that could come into place that could affect you in a year or two. So this is your opportunity to come out to talk about it. A lot of fishermen don't think it makes a difference, but it does. And they need to talk about, just like I am, what they've seen, how they feel about their fishery, what they would like to see, how they think that the federal agency, NOAA, could do a better job with the information they have and what they're trying to do. So it's important, this thing called scoping, and that's where the fishermen have an opportunity to either go online, put their comments in, or they can go in person, and or either go to council meetings. But they all need to do it, and that's your chance to talk about it, but not so much to it's better to try to find a solution and not come at it and say, you don't know what you're talking about or this or that, because that at the end of the day doesn't get anybody anywhere, but just say, hey, these are things, and if you can back it up with any data or anything, it goes a long way. And that's what the industry is looking for. You know, the way that we collect data and the way that we're starting to use fishermen dependent data has really making a big difference in what we're seeing in our stock assessments, and we think we're doing a much better job. It's important, like I've said over and over, that fishermen are able to contribute to what we're doing. To become better fishermen, to get involved in the process, the regulations process, understanding why we have regulations, to get involved, to spend some time. There's so much stuff online now. You know, you can get on there and you can go to the South Atlantic's website if you're a deep water fisherman like I am, for snapper, grouper, species, spend a few minutes on it. And team up with a guy that's been doing it for a while, and somebody that will teach you things about the fish that you're after and things that you can do to help you become a better fisherman, whether it be management process of it or just teaching you how to catch the fish. But I think it's super important for every person that has a passion in the fishery at some level to continue to educate themselves on work that the AP has done or the council has done to make our fishery better. Without good law enforcement, it doesn't make a difference, because if nobody's enforcing these regulations, we're not getting anywhere, and I'm very discouraged with our enforcement. Back in the 80s, when I got into this, we had a lot of enforcement, state and federal, and it was there to help protect the fisheries. We don't see that anymore. And for this thing to work, and for it to last for generations, and not just those of us who are doing it now, we've got to have enforcement. And it's important that everybody realize that if you're not playing by the rules or doing what the council process and the federal process is there to do, that we may not have a fishery 20 years from now or 10 years from now for our kids and grandkids to enjoy what we're seeing. One of the things I would like to talk about is accountability. And what accountability means is each person taking responsibility to do what they're supposed to be doing. In other words, if there's a law in place, and it was put in place for a reason. And so accountability means do your part, you know, whether that means putting a fish back properly in the ocean or not keeping a fish that you shouldn't keep. Accountability means that you need to do your part as a fisherman. Accountability means that you know, we have been reporting our catches on the commercial side for over 20 years, and that means that when we come in with a catch of seafood, that we have to be responsible for reporting everything that we offload, and it has to match up. So there's another side of it. So it's not just an honor system. It's like, okay, well, we have to have, you know, the dealer reporting has to match with the fisherman's reporting, and it goes to NOAA, and it's included in the stock assessment. And we have cutoff points, you know, like if we're allowed to harvest 1 million pounds or 1 million snapper, each fisherman comes in and keeps getting deducted and deducted, and we have to stop fishing. We have what they call an NC stopped fishing that year, and the next year we restart our quota. People don't like that. They don't like to have to stop fishing, but it's what we have to do, and it's called accountability. Accountability on the other side for the recreation industry means that they need to be reporting what they're catching. It's very important. At the end of the day, if you feel like you've got by, you brought 2, 3, 5, 10 fish in, that it won't matter, right? Because that's all it was. But if you take millions of anglers and they do that, all of a sudden we see these scientists going out and saying, hey, for some reason we got a stocking system. This is not what we're hoping for. That's called, we didn't have good accountability in the fishery for somehow, but everybody's got to do their job, and everybody has to report their landings. And we cannot manage a fishery without it. There's so many parts that are rewarding to be a fisherman. I mean, number one for me, it's just I love being outside. I love being out with being on the ocean. It's so it's always changing. You know, it's just like us sitting here talking now. I just saw a red drum come up and grab a school of mullet, and then I saw a Spanish jump. And so, you know, just something that you wouldn't expect to interact with, you are, and it's just. But for me, what's been most rewarding is able to know that I'm a farmer of the ocean and I'm feeding Americans and giving them a really good, healthy protein. It's an organic protein that they can feel healthy about eating. And a lot of people that eat our product, they see so much on the news about overfishing and this and that. I love educating the public and saying, you know, we're doing a good job in our country, in the U.S., managing our fisheries, and that they can feel good about what they're eating.